wanted to share a book with you that I channeled with my ancestor that lived in the 1800s. And this book is really helpful for people who actually struggle with chronic pain and are trying to figure out the root cause of their pain. But also, this book is really helpful for people who struggle with self-worth issues and discovering their own power. And the reason I was able to overcome severe rheumatoid arthritis, you can see my hands are super deformed, was because of my ancestor. Because my ancestor came and loved me and helped me see the patterns that were making me sick. And so we wrote this book together. It's called Always Worthy, and it's available on Amazon and Audible. And I channeled this book with him, and I'm sharing this book with the world because everyone has generational trauma, and everyone have ancestors that came before them that wants desperately for them to heal the cycles and the patterns that have held their family bound for generations. And if you open up to it, these ancestors will do everything in their power to help you overcome whatever it is that is challenging you. There were so many unconscious patterns that I was living out, and I had no idea that I was just living out generational trauma until I read my ancestors' journals. There were about almost 300 pages worth of his writings. He wrote almost every single day about everything. And I went through his journals and asked him what it was that he wanted me to include in this book. And he was very specific about the entries that he wanted me to highlight. And through studying his journals, I discovered the patterns that make us sick and the patterns that were causing me to be misaligned with my truth and my birthright to wellness. And I grew up as a devout member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormon Church, you might know it as, is actually a very toxic religion, and its foundation is full of lies and deceit. But my ancestor, he was one of the first to join the religion of our family, and he was around when the origins of the church came about. And so for generations, my family has done everything they can to live in alignment with this church. And I did as well. I served a mission for the church in Arizona, and come to find out, that's exactly where my ancestor served as well. And I had no idea how toxic this church was. And if you don't understand high demand religion, and if you don't know what it's like, let me tell you, they tell you where to go, what to think, how to feel, and who you are. And that was so extreme for me that I took what they taught me about me to heart, and that self-hatred and lack of worth and lack of self-love manifested in my body in a very real way. And I was totally unaware of that until my ancestor, Lorenzo Hill Hatch, made that clear to me. And as I was studying his journal, I realized how toxic it is and was for us to be a part of this organization. And in his journals, there are patterns of health and illness throughout the whole thing. And go through a really difficult thing with the church or with the leaders that were over him. They would have him work really hard on projects and promise to pay him, and they never paid him. Or he would give everything of himself from people who just kept taking and taking his money, his time, and all of his energy. And then he would end up bedridden. And as I studied his journal, I realized that he had rheumatoid arthritis, just like I did, and to the point of being debilitated. And while he was serving a mission in Arizona for the church and doing whatever they told him to do for 24 years, he asked if he could come home because some of his children were growing up in Idaho, and he asked the leaders of the church to come home. And this is how much control they have over their members. And when he asked to come home, they responded, "Dear brother, I am directed by the First Presidency to say that they are of the opinion, after reading Brother Hatch's letter, that it would be better for him to remain in the field of labor to which he has been appointed in Arizona than to return to Cache Valley. They also think it would be well for him to have a wife join him who could be of most comfort to help him in his advancing years, with kindest regards." Because the church had all power over this man and his life, many of his children grew up without a father because they had all power over this man. He didn't know his own worth. He didn't know his own voice. And he wasn't able to say, hey, you know what? I'm actually going home. And you guys can find someone else to do work for you and not get paid for years. You know, he never stood up for himself. And the echoes of his story and his trauma, it's almost like as I read his journal, I saw myself in every single page. And so it's been a fascinating journey, I will say that. And this book also has so much healing to share with the world. And it's because I've been loved by this dear ancestor of mine that I've been able to overcome so much of the trauma that was making me sick. And it's because I've been loved that I was able to overcome religious trauma. And it's because I've been loved that I was able to stop generational patterns. And I believe fully that everyone has the opportunity to do that as well. What story is being echoed in your heart and your life? What is it that you see echoing from generations before you? And if you feel overwhelmed about overcoming those things, you can ask for help, and your ancestors will show up in amazing ways. And when they do, I can't wait to hear your story.